Hello there, and welcome to the second episode of Wednesday Wisdom. I have a cool story for you guys. It's called This Cake is Delicious. There was an old Zen master, and he was actually lying on his deathbed. It was his last day. He could feel it for some reason, and people started gathering from far and wide to visit him on his last day here on earth. His friends, his family, his loved ones all joined him together around the deathbed. His disciples, of course, were there too, all the people he taught. And there was one disciple, though, that ran away through the crowd. And everyone was like, "Hey, where are you going, man? Where are you going? The Zen master needs us. He's dying. He's right here." And the disciple answered, "I'm going to the market. I'm going to get the master's favorite cake. I know he will be super delighted and he will be very happy that I brought him this cake." So they just let him go, and the disciple manages to get the cake. It's a very special cake that you can only buy at one particular bakery, and he manages to do that. So by the evening, he comes back and joins all the people. But they are a little worried because it looks or feels like the Zen master has been waiting on something or someone. And then he sees the disciple enter the room and he says, "Do you have the cake?" And everyone's super quiet. Suspense is there in the room. And he says, "Yes, master, I do have the cake." And he presents the cake, and the master took the cake and put it on his hand. And his hand was very steady. It didn't tremble at all, and everyone thought this was a very curious thing. So one of the disciples asked, "Master, you are very old and on the verge of dying. How come your hand doesn't tremble?" And the Zen master answered, "I may be very old, but I am still young. My body is old. I will still be young when I pass away." And everyone looked at each other like, okay, this is deep stuff. Right. He's right. And then he starts eating, and everyone sees that he's so delighted and he's so much enjoying the cake. And after a few minutes, another disciple asks him, he sees his chance and he asks the master, "Master, if there is one thing that you want us to remember, one last piece of advice or wisdom, what would that be? You're almost gone." And the Zen master, he looks up with his mouth full of crumbs of the cake, and he says, "This cake is delicious." And he passes away right then and there, right at that moment. He just dies. Those were his last words. This cake is delicious. This moment is everything. He lives there so present, right here and right now, that even death for him was irrelevant. The next moment was meaningless. This was a very cool story to read, and it really gives us that insight. So those were his last words, really. And what that means is that the Zen master that was dying was so in the present moment. He was right here and right now, and the next moment is meaningless. Death is irrelevant. That's the beautiful thing about this story. This cake is delicious. This moment is what matters. There's no fear of the future, of the dying. He's not worried about that. And there is no regrets about the past. He's not thinking about all these things. He's just right there and right then. I hope you enjoyed this story. I thought it was awesome. So see you next week for another Wednesday Wisdom. Bye-bye.